Bicentennial Special: The Energy Crisis and Sunday Sacredness. Quote, Nashville Baptist Press. Representatives of 14 denominations explored the Lord's Day in contemporary culture at a 2-day Consultation 75 conference here, sponsored by the Lord's Day Alliance of the United States. The Lord's Day Alliance, organized in 1888, is an interdenominational group dedicated to the support and strengthening of the institution of the Lord's Day as a day of unique religious significance. Harold Linsell, editor of Christianity Today, called for legal action to establish a day of rest for secular as well as religious reasons. The Sabbath is God's day, Linsell said, but Jesus said that man was not made for the Sabbath. The Sabbath was made for man. It was part of God's natural revelation for man in nature itself. He urged Christians to make the secular world aware of what God reveals through nature about the value of a day of rest, citing the need for rest and the need to preserve energy and other natural resources. Neither man nor machines can continue indefinitely without rest, he said. During World War II, it was found that a 7-day week did not increase production. Men actually produced less in 7 days over the long haul than they did when working 6 days and resting 1 day. Further, Linsell stated, if the people of America were to get off the highways on Sunday alone, except for church attendance or genuine necessities, the energy crisis would be virtually solved. There is nothing to show that people will buy fewer goods because they could not buy on Sunday. If all stores and factories are closed 1 day, nobody is losing anything since none of their competitors will be open either. There would be an immediate 15% saving of fuel and electricity, he said. People would be able to spend time with their families, rest and relax in a less troubled environment and allow the air of the great cities to recover from the pollution largely caused by automobile exhaust and factory smoke. End quote. Sunday, November to December 1975. The magazine of the Lord's Day Alliance of the United States. Quote, I will continue to be on the alert about what is going on in Congress and in state assemblies regarding the Sabbath or a common day of rest laws, and will be glad to render whatever service I can along this line. End quote. Dr. James P. Westbury, Executive Director of the Lord's Day Alliance of the United States. Sunday, November through December 1975, the magazine of the Lord's Day Alliance of the United States. The Energy Bill. The Energy Bill, Public Law, number 94 through 163, sponsored by Senators Kennedy and Jackson and others, was signed by President Ford on December 22, 1975. Quote, the President shall prescribe, in accordance with Section 523, 1 or more energy conservation contingency plans. As used in this section, the term Energy Conservation Consistency Plan means a plan which imposes responsible restrictions on the public or private use of energy which are necessary to reduce energy consumption. Within 180 days after the enactment of this Act, the President shall transmit to Congress 1 or more energy conservation contingency plans and a rationing contingency plan. No contingency plan may become effective unless the President has found that putting such contingency plan into effect is required by a severe energy supply interruption or in order to fulfill obligations of the United States under the International Energy Program. End quote. The Energy Bill, Public Law number 94 through 163, page 22. Quote, whoever violates shall be subject to a civil penalty of not more than $5,000 for each violation. Any person who knowingly and willingly violates after having been subject to civil penalty for a prior violation shall be fined not more than $50,000 or imprisoned not more than 6 months or both. End quote. The Energy Bill, Public Law number 94 through 163, page 93. Senator Jackson, former hopeful for the presidency, said on April 7, 1975, quote, "This provision is the national Sunday law," end quote. Operation 76, quote, "Impossible as the paradox of communist Christianity may seem, it already is a reality. It came to fruition in March 1969 at a conference in Rome sponsored by the fountainhead of Catholicism, the Vatican, and the University of California. The participants included Catholic prelates and priests, Protestant theologians, Jewish intellectuals, and Marxist revolutionaries. At the 18th National Convention of the Communist Party, USA, the Red Faithful found godless religion incorporated in Operation 76 as an instrumentality co-equal with the ratio-political modality reported in newsletter number 72, for effecting our country's surrender to a Soviet-dominated world slate by July 4, 1976. The plan of action is quite precise. It is geared to the creation of a single church of world brotherhood seated in the Holy Land by the mid-1970s. The ultimate goal is a global state religion in which the political and church powers are one and the same. But this objective extends beyond the terminal date of Operation 76, whose blueprint in this area is restricted to fostering a domestic interfaith union of the mainstream of Protestant, Catholic, and Jewish denominations in an expanded national council of churches, which by a series of guidelines to be down by several agencies of the federal government, and later to be sustained by decisions of the U.S. Supreme Court, will by force of law come to include all churches, denominations, sects, and individual clergymen and evangelists legally recognized as having the right to function in the field of religion. All seeking to operate outside either the council or the guidelines will, in the earlier stages of the plan, be subjected to crippling economic disabilities and later be included under statutory and prosecutable offenses. The projected legislation will be known as the National Community Health Act, with provisions extending to all phases of federal-state health services. It is planned as an omnibus bill recodifying and tightening both new and amended provisions laws to be enacted in the same area during the years prior to its introduction. The Act, in its provisions dealing with the individual religious practitioners, would render it totally impossible for any individual religionist to continue a public ministry outside the secularized creed of the National Council of Churches, since impairing the emotional well-being of the community is defined in Article 11 as anything done in the name or on the behalf of any religious body, sect, teaching, or personal revelation, or in the pursuit of any organized or individual political objective, including election to party or public office or nomination thereof, which creates or is calculated to create public mistrust, fear, alarm, or panic, or which propagates social mistrust, hostility, or hatred of, toward, or for any other religious and or political body, belief, or conviction, when such shall result from appeals to the superstitious, the supernatural, or unvalidated interpretations of religious experience of an occult order, or when otherwise unsupported by accepted religious or political usage as established by law. Included in the usages established by law will be a number of strenuous religious and political restrictions imposed upon both organizations and individuals resisting both the world church and world state, which are interrelated objectives of the Kremlin's Operation 76. The restrictions imposed by a series of federal guidelines, supplemental legislation, and supporting Supreme Court decrees buttressing the assault upon our religious and political freedoms. End quote. The American Mercury Religious Supplement. Historical lesson. In 321 AD, the Emperor Constantine initiated a civil law forbidding work on Sunday in the cities only. Soon, this law became binding on all as a day of worship, and carried a death penalty for disobedience. As a result of Constantine's laws, millions lost their lives at the burning stake because the authorities had power by law to force the conscience of dissidents or nonconformists. Neander informs us that Sunday laws were the means through which church and state were united in the 4th century, and instead of preserving the Roman Empire, they contributed largely to its downfall. The Sunday law is only civil in its beginning, but it will develop rapidly into a religious institution. Why? Because Sunday, the first day of the week, is the day on which the majority worship. Though only civil in its beginning, it will become religious and very oppressive for the minorities who worship on days other than Sunday. A closing law for any other day of worship would likewise restrict religious liberty for someone in America. Inspiration's warning. Quote, "The Protestants of the United States will be foremost in stretching their hands across the gulf to clasp the hand of spiritualism. They will reach over the abyss to clasp hands with the Roman power, and under the influence of this threefold union, this country will follow in the steps of Rome in trampling on the rights of conscience." End quote. The Great Controversy, page 588. Quote, "As the writing of this volume was being brought to a close, a crisis threatened in the United States in the form of proposed national Sunday law. In this connection, there was brought before Mrs. White the views of the impending conflict and the issues which the Church must meet as apostate Protestantism unites with Catholicism to enforce oppressive measures." End quote. Testimonies, Volume 5, page 7. Quote, "The decree which is to go forth against the people of God will be very similar to that issued by Ahasuerus against the Jews in the time of Esther. The Persian edict sprang from the malice of Haman toward Mordecai. The Protestant world today see in the little company keeping the Sabbath a Mordecai in the gate. His character and conduct, expressing reverence for the law of God, are a constant rebuke to those who cast off the fear of the Lord and are trampling upon his Sabbath. The unwelcome intruder must by some means be put out of the way." End quote. Testimonies for the Church, Volume 5, page 450. Quote, "The Sunday movement is now making its way in darkness. The leaders are concealing the true issue, and many who unite in the movement do not themselves see whether the undercurrent is tending. Its professions are mild and apparently Christian, but when it shall speak, it will reveal the spirit of the dragon. It is our duty to do all in our power to avert the threatening danger." End quote. Testimonies for the Church, Volume 5, page 452. Quote, "There are many, even of those engaged in this movement for Sunday enforcement, who are blinded to the results which follow this action. They do not see that they are striking directly against religious liberty. There are many who have never understood the claims of the Bible, Sabbath, and the false foundation upon which the Sunday institution rests. Any movement in favor of religious legislation is really an act of concession to the papacy, which for so many ages has steadily warred against liberty of conscience. Sunday observance owes its existence as a so-called Christian institution to the mystery of iniquity, and its enforcement will be a virtual recognition of the principles which are the very cornerstone of Romanism. When our nation shall so adjure the principles of its government as to enact a Sunday law, Protestantism will in this act join hands with Popery. It will be nothing else than giving life to the tyranny which has long been eagerly watching its opportunity to spring again into active despotism. The national reform movement, exercising the power of religious legislation, will, when fully developed, manifest the same intolerance and oppression that have prevailed in past ages. Human councils then assumed the prerogatives of deity, crushing under the despotic power liberty of conscience, and imprisonment, exile, and death followed for those who opposed their dictates. If Popery or its principles shall again be legislated into power, the fires of persecution will be rekindled against those who will not sacrifice conscience and the truth in deference to popular errors. This evil is on the point of realization." End quote. Testimonies for the Church, Volume 5, page 711 and 712. Quote, "We are not ready for the issue to which the enforcement of the Sunday law will bring us. It is our duty, as we see the signs of approaching peril, to arouse to action. Let none sit in calm expectation of the evil, comforting themselves that the belief that this work must go on because prophecy has foretold it, and that the Lord will shelter his people. We are not doing the will of God if we sit in quietude, doing nothing to preserve liberty of conscience." End quote. Testimonies for the Church, Volume 5, page 713 and 714. Quote, "We have been looking many years for a Sunday law to be enacted in our land, and now that the movement is right upon us, we ask, will our people do their duty in the matter? Let the watchmen now lift up their voice and give the message which is present truth for this time. Let us show the people where we are in prophetic history and seek to arouse the spirit of true Protestantism, awaking the world to a sense of the value of the privileges of religious liberty so long enjoyed." End quote. Testimonies for the Church, Volume 5, page 716. The Mighty Angel. Quote, "Then I saw another mighty angel commissioned to descend to the earth to unite his voice with the third angel, and give power and force to his message. The work of this angel comes in at the right time to join in the last great work of the third angel's message as it swells to a loud cry. And the people of God are thus prepared to stand in the hour of temptation, which they are soon to meet. This message seemed to be an addition to the third message, joining it." End quote. Early Writings, page 277. Quote, "If the leading men of our conferences do not now accept the message sent them by God and fall into line for action, the churches will suffer great loss." End quote. Testimonies, Volume 5, page 715. The mighty angel of Revelation 18:1, which inspiration says is a message that joins the third angel's message, is now on the scene to prepare you for the coming crisis. In 1960, Protestant America elected a Catholic president for the first time in history. Prophecy fulfilled. In 1961, the United States Supreme Court decreed Sunday laws constitutional. Prophecy fulfilled. In 1975, President Ford signed into law the energy bill providing that in the time of crisis, rationing of gas would be effected on Sunday to conserve energy, thus making a national civil Sunday law. Prophecy fulfilled. An energy crisis is now imminent to bring into effect the Sunday law. Are you ready to meet the crisis? Benjamin L. Roden.